Pasha Paroh, thank you for tuning. Wide at 7. So, you guys I don't celebrate holidays, right? Born days, birthdays, none of that. And, however, this is for a lot of people um, what they call Black History Month, right? And y'all know I'm not black, I'm American. But there's going to be a lot of people celebrating this so called month long attention. And as Pasha, I want to issue an executive order. Because what's going to happen is this. It's going to be a lot of people doing a lot of fake shit as normal. Pasha, what do you mean? I mean, you're going to hear about this, Black History that all month. And these same people, many of them, are going to go home to their communities and destroy the people in their community that look like them, that's doing the same thing that they trying to celebrate the people from the past for in Black History Month. The same people that's going to want to broadcast to you and post and do all the stuff about Black history is going to go home and look at the person that they call black next to them and try to destroy them to make themselves feel better about themselves instead of celebrating them. The achievements made that's going to be talked about for the next 24 days are going to be the same type of achievements certain people going to go back and talk shit about the next person for attempting to do today. In other words, there's going to be a bunch of people, quote unquote, celebrating Black History Month, and everything that month of Black History Month is comprised of to celebrate, they are going to then go simultaneously destroy everybody they know that looks like them or fits the profile of being a Black history per their account, who's doing what they do today. So in other words, the things that they're celebrating as Black history, they're going to go and destroy the current version of it simply to feel better about themselves at the end of the day. And I gotta, you know me, I be inspired by the community. Sometimes I gotta go out there into the community and just talk to people, and get inspired. Like, fellas, if you want to get inspired about your future, talk to an ex, because she gonna remind you everything, right? Like, I was talking to a woman and she asked, why do black men leave? And that's kind of like what I've been thinking about the last couple days, because it's that stereotypical question that you always hear. And I thought how appropriate was for Black History Month, right? You know, because the question they want to ask is, why aren't like black men protecting their women, right? Like you know, they want to be protected. And I did this video here on that, so go check that video out in particular, right? But we could say it's a similar question. So when I observe society about this question, the answer is really simple. it's, I think the ones that quote unquote leave, right, are the ones most often, right? Now, I'm not saying everybody's perfect. I'm not saying there's not fucked up situations. So don't try to pull your sound recorder out and only clip the 6 seconds, clip the whole video. You know what I'm saying? That's the if you're gonna share a sound clip, share the whole thing, right? So make it make sense. So I think the ones that leave, right, are the ones that realize everything they value providing their family is not valued by their family. I'll repeat that. Everything they value providing their family is not valued by their family. And then when you look at it that way, it's no different from why you ran away when you were a little kid. Talking about, y'all don't appreciate me here, I'm running away. It's no different than why the employee quits their job. I just wanted to let you know, today my last day. I quit. Y'all don't pay me enough. Y'all don't appreciate me. Y'all don't listen. Y'all don't, and you run it all down for them. And you, if you got a box, you pack your box and you leave. I really think it's that simple. But the problem is, the reason why I don't get said to be that simple is because what we must do in our community, we must take accountability. And the problem is, who would have to take accountability for not valuing the black men, quote unquote black men, in the community? Remember how I started the video? There's going to be people celebrating all of these Black history achievements, and they're going to be the same people that go home to their household and destroy the quote unquote black person right now today that's trying to do the same thing that they just celebrated Black history about. You ain't shit. You ain't never gonna be. You didn't do this. You don't do that. Meanwhile, they trying to put together the next $10 billion app. But they don't have support. They got drama. They got trauma. They got abuse. They got violence. And granted, I'm not saying it's not a two-way street. So there's always the equal opposite. But I don't really think I don't really, I don't hear the men talking about it the same way, even though the same thing exists. Because the women, they say these things about, like, I don't, how do I want to say it? I don't know about the rest of y'all men, right? Because men can't talk to nobody. And I get that. I get that if you call yourself a black man, you don't have nobody to talk to. I'm telling you, you American, so you probably feel like you can't really talk to me. You're going to think I don't understand, like I didn't come through it. I just read some more books. I just read the United States Code. I just know the history of what America is a little bit more. So I'm telling you what I am, but that don't mean I don't relate to what you think you are. Because someone who wanted to control you told you this is what you are, and you never questioned it. And that's a whole nother video. But basically, the long story short is that the term black for entertainment purposes is not a nationality, it's a nationality code. And it means basically of unknown origin, because what law applies to you is determined by your nationality. So if they got you all running around here basically stating the contract that you don't know where you're from, then they had to create a set of laws for those people because they weren't claiming to be Americans. So American law don't apply to them. And originally it wasn't the people that looked like us that were called black. But we'll say that I got videos on my channel about that. Go look it up. So now part of the reason why the community is so messed up is because you feel like you don't have any rights because you don't know that you don't, because you're claiming the wrong thing to begin with. But that's another conversation. So it's no different, like I said, than why a kid runs away from home, an employee quits their job. That's the same reason why, right? Civil rights movement. Let's look at some of this stuff. The civil rights movement, right? Let me do this real quick. Let me get this out the way. For those that don't know, I'm Pasha, American brand evoker and critical solutions expert. So, like I said, people are going to celebrate Black history and go home and destroy the people closest to them that's doing the same things today that they just got done celebrating for Black history. And you wonder why I say, I speak in terms of things being a sickness or illness, because what else do you call this? Like Dr. Martin Luther King, or Michael Luther King was actually his name, but you got to know the true antiquity story about him, not just the history they gave. But Michael Luther King Jr. and other civil rights leaders spearheaded the civil rights movement, see? But they don't tell you about all the European looking ones, or what you would call white people, that were actually the source of civil rights, because they were the ones that didn't have rights in the country. A whole nother discussion. But they gave credit to Dr. Martin Luther King because it made you fall in love with the term black, which we just talked about, how that crippled our mentality and our communities, because you don't know what you're really claiming. But let's just stick to their program. The civil rights movement of the 1950s and 60s, leading to landmark legislation such as the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the Voting Rights Act of 1965. See what I'm saying? They always manipulating your mind because you're emotional. The gym pop, right? This is why we be isolated. The public here at YNet 7. The Republic. All right? Because our minds are different. You know what I'm saying? This is why you might be single as a male, because that manipulation tactics that the woman, applies don't necessarily work on you the same. Right? And it's a sad situation, because the only reason they keep trying it is because it works on others. And they get support from it and attention, right? Which then creates a stereotype, which makes it okay to be to operate on a lesser capacity than what we should be operating on, because now we have the stereotype. So it's a perpetual death spiral. let's look at this. The movement, right? Because we talked about how the whole thing about voting is to get you to register yourself. It's not to get you all emotionally attached to these thoughts and feelings and stuff, right? Because what people do in blind rage of emotion and no knowledge of truth is they go run out and they want to react instead of respond, right? So you go and you vote. And the danger is to vote, you have to register. And if you register, that makes you property of the United States corporation. So when you wonder why they put the prop up in front of you, Michael Luther King, and it comes to Civil Rights Act of 1964, putting everybody in the status of what you would think, what you would call a black person at that time, while they tricked everybody into thinking they uplifted the group. And then you got the Voting Rights Act, because now you get to go ahead and register yourself as property of the United States yourself. You get to self-identify, but you feel like it was something to benefit you, right? But hold on, let's just look at the polished version they gave us, though. So the Civil Rights Act of 1964, because the point I'm making is going to be continuous through these 10. So the movement was pivotal in the dismantling legal segregation and ensuring voting rights of African Americans. Now, if you just talk to the Gen Pop that don't know the truth about history or don't know the truth, and just talk to them about their feelings, they'll say that, Dr. Martin Luther King, it was great, and look what he did for the community, and blah, 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 all that type of stuff. So let's just rock with the polished version that they got you brainwashed into believing, because what I want to point out is that Dr. Martin Luther King, right? Because here we are, we can't support our own greatness. You've been on the channel long enough, I refer to it as the humble campaign. Pasha, what's the humble campaign? Well, Kendrick Lamar, be humble. Long before that, they've been telling you be humble. You know what I mean? Well, what is humble? Well, when you look up the etymology of the word humble, it means not proud. Not proud. And everybody be like, yeah, you shouldn't be proud about shit, because they're confusing it with pride, or they want to associate proud with arrogant. They want to give proud a negative connotation so that they can support in their mind why they should be humble, right? But when you look up the word proud, when you look up the etymology of the word proud, it actually means noble, excellent, splendid. Not but any of that. Noble, excellent, splendid. So humble is not noble, not excellent, not splendid. So what happens is the humble campaign, as I call it, has programmed your community to demonize, ostracize, alienate, and weaponize themselves against everything in your community that's noble, excellent, and splendid, or noble, excellent, splendid. And then you wake up one day and ask yourself why we have nothing to be proud of. Because the man you're asking about at one point was proud, but you had to destroy the proud that he carried. You had to destroy it. His mother destroyed it by telling him he was never gonna be shit. His mother destroyed it by overlooking his ability to get A/B honor roll without taking any books to school. She was too busy talking about why you're not carrying a backpack, why you running the streets, why you doing this, where he was getting A's and B's. His mother already destroyed it, telling him she should have got a dog. His mother already corrupted the proud that he was born with by telling him she couldn't wait till he was 18 so he can get the fuck out. So all of our proud, you're taught to destroy. And then you ask, why the men leave? Because you don't want a proud man. You want a humble one. Right? So, in the polished version of the civil rights movement, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. faced significant opposition from the quote-unquote black community. Some activists, such as Malcolm X and members of the Black Power movement, criticized King's non-violent approach, arguing that it was too passive and ineffective in the face of systemic oppression. Additionally, some members of the quote-unquote black community feared that King's activism would provoke violent backlash, putting their lives and livelihoods at risk. Ain't that the same thing we got going on today? If you stand up and fight for it with books and knowledge, you wasting time. Who's supporting that right now? No, everybody turn a blind eye because they want to keep connected with the government benefits, right? So they can't help you with that. You're nobody if you're doing that. Okay, Malcolm X. If you want to pick up the guns and Black Power, Black Panther, and line up and go to war with it. Oh, now you crazy because the cops, the police, and what are you gonna do if you get shot? So if you want to fight, you're wrong, and if you don't want to fight, you're wrong. Because either way, you're in a state of being proud about something, so you must be humbled by your own people. So when you know that person and they talking about Michael Luther King or Malcolm X or Black Power or Black Panther, but they gonna go home and destroy everybody today that looks like them, acts like them, just remind them. Just remind them the hypocrisy. The abolition of slavery, right? The tireless efforts of countless quote-unquote black activists and leaders contributed to the abolition of slavery, culminating in the 13th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution. But today you got people telling you, like me, you know how many times I hear, oh, we don't rock, we can't stand by you because you talking about we need to do this to challenge the United States government. Basically, that's what they saying. These motherfuckers back then worked to abolish slavery and help create a 13th Amendment, and y'all scared today to stand with Pasha Paroh? Y'all gonna keep going? Y'all gonna post videos? Y'all gonna post on social media about how to top 8 ways to stay in a toxic workplace? You can say what you want about me. Like I said, I lost everything fighting for people like you. I can get that stuff back. And you find out who your real people are when they feel like you ain't got what they feel like you should have, but they ain't help you get nothing. Right? Because when they were doing that abolish slavery thing, during that movement, leaders like Frederick Douglass and others faced skepticism from some enslaved and free Black individuals who doubted the possibility of achieving freedom through activism. Additionally, some free Black communities were hesitant to align with abolitionists due to fears of retaliation or losing their precarious social standing. Same thing going on today. Oh, I can't really associate with you because I might jeopardize my fiat currency, and then I couldn't run around here talking about, I hang with millionaires because there wouldn't be no millionaires. It's fake currency. It's worth nothing. You're falling victim to an illusion. So sad. But you're destroying the people who are actually trying to do something for the community. Mainly out of the ignorance of your lack of understanding about what would actually benefit the people. Because you're programmed and brainwashed by what benefits the corporation that's enslaving the people. See, you were taught to be a good slave. You were taught to be humble, not proud. So you study how to execute everything of being not proud. And you ridicule proud people. What about scientific advancements? George Washington Carver, innovations in agriculture, particularly his work with the peanuts. You know the story, right? Sweet potatoes, helped diversify the Southern economy single-handedly, basically, provided new opportunities for farmers. Was he married? What do you think his wife was telling him in the beginning? What do you think his girlfriend was telling him in the beginning? Right? You out there messing with peanuts all the time. What you doing? Go get a real job. Right? You could see that. You could see that. On top of probably that, George Washington Carver, despite his groundbreaking agricultural work, faced challenges in gaining recognition and support. Some members of the Black community questioned the practicality of his focus on agricultural innovations, as they were more concerned with the immediate civil rights and economic equality. See, because you didn't have a proper leadership at the time, there was nobody promoting balance of attack. Balance. So how many things have you done for a person in your community, right? This ones that's going to run out and celebrate Black History Month. And you done valuable things for them that they never acknowledge. And every time if you were to bring it up, they're going to find a way to discount it, discredit it, and you. So much to the point that they be done forgot you did it until someone else brings it up. Isn't that how we got the Black History Month thrown into February anyway? Because y'all wasn't giving none of our credit. It was somebody else that gave y'all February to talk about yourselves. But you wonder why they left. And for the men that Wonder why the women left. I mean, it's crazy. It sounds crazy, but they gonna go to the someone who gives them what it is that they after. I think a lot of men, we're really simple. We might have big ambitions. We might be wanting to take over the world, but at home we just want to be valued, right? And then that's why they be mad, because you go to these other cultures that are programmed differently. That that's what they know to do, right? Then we gotta be the ones that's like, damn, if I go over here, they're gonna go over the bullshit. But that's where they wind up, because it feels good. Most of the women in our community, they wind up with somewhere else because they feel security and safety for financial reasons, and or they just have somebody that they can control mentally because they fanned out over the chick or whatever. So now they got them, they can control them, they do whatever they want. I think a lot of men would invest more financially if they were invested in more. And I don't even mean like you wasn't with me shooting in the gym. I mean, that would be nice if we, I've talked about that. I think that's the best relationships, is when y'all could work on like a family business together and grow it, and have something like a legacy to leave behind. That way you wouldn't be in competition with each other over your careers, which is really why a lot of relationships fail. But just like I said, just the fact of, George Washington Carver, like, oh, babe, you working with those peanuts? Is there something I can help you with? Nah, it's like, they don't know, you got to be in the back working on your peanuts, and hear the chick on the phone, dumb motherfucker in the back working on the peanuts, ain't made no money with the peanuts yet. It's been 6 months, right? You got to hear that dumb shit. No support, all criticism though, right? Now you got peanut butter and they forgot you made it. You know what I'm saying? Like, how you gonna forget you made the peanut butter? They spent a year, talking shit about you making it, and then when it takes off, they forgot it. Peanut butter came from you when you got, like, I made the peanut butter. Oh, you think you something because you made the peanut butter? Like, it's always like that, right? I think those are the situations people leave from. Right? How many people grew up in a household like that? Oh, the phone started going off. So, medical breakthroughs, right? The preservation of blood plasma, a crucial advancement in medical science, is contributed to African American researchers. So this innovation has been vital in medical treatments and surgeries. However, let's look at what they were going through while they were making it. The African American researchers who contributed to medical advancements often worked in isolation due to systemic racism. Within their own communities, there was sometimes mistrust of medical institutions stemming from historical abuses like the Tuskegee syphilis study. The misconduct could extend to Black medical professionals as well. So now, when you're innovating as a person that looks like me at all, you get isolated from everywhere, right? Your own community don't want you because you're causing problems. You're changing things. You want to be there. You're taking too much time. You should get a real job. All this stuff. Then the other side don't want you because they don't want to see you succeed, because they know it's coming from what they see as a competitor. right? Or they want you because they want to tap into the technology or whatever it is you're developing so that they can get some ownership of it or some claim to fame of it. So then they want to utilize you, right? But the issue is none of them care about you. None of them value you. So you just isolated. And then you out here fighting the systemic racism, fighting the battles of what you're trying to put together that's never been done before as an invention, an innovation by yourself. Right? And what you coming home to? Congratulations, honey. Nah, argument. You just spent 21 hours in the lab working on a new neuroplasticity splint for a medical breakthrough, and you getting yelled at about a trash can not being taken out. What about the literature and cultural, right? The Renaissance, the Harlem Renaissance, 1918, 1937 was a pivotal period in quote unquote African American cultural history, marked by flourishings of literature, music, and art. Writers like Langston Hughes and Zora Neale, if I'm pronouncing that right, Hurston, explored themes of racial pride and social justice, redefining African American identity. But during that time, during the Harlem Renaissance, some Black writers and artists faced criticism from their own communities for portraying aspects of quote unquote Black life that were considered unflattering or controversial. Can you even imagine that? Like, what were they talking about in 1913, 1918 to 1937 that would be considered unflattering or controversial? For example, Zora was sometimes criticized for not being overtly political enough in addressing racial injustice. Could you imagine those people today listening to the songs that you listen to on the radio? See, you all the way humble now. You all the way not proud. Actually, I can't even say you all the way because apparently it's gonna keep going. You can keep going. There's more to. You ain't at the bottom yet, right? Because when most people hit a rock bottom in life, they self-identify that they are at rock bottom, and then the mental action becomes, how do we climb back up? So apparently this ain't the rock bottom, because if it was, everybody collectively, you wouldn't have to have these type of conversations. Everybody would be talking about climbing back up. So we not at rock bottom yet. What about your legal and judicial contributions? Thurgood Marshall, the first quote unquote African American Supreme Court justice, played a crucial role in dismantling segregation in America, most notably through his victory in the landmark case Brown versus Board of Education. At the same time, Thurgood Marshall was celebrated for his legal victories. He faced criticism from some Black activists, quote unquote Black activists, who believed that working within the legal system was too slow and ineffective. Others felt that his focus on integration overlooked the importance of building strong, independent, quote unquote Black institutions. How do you feel about it? You can't win for losing. And yeah, I might be more on the side of let's build our own stuff. But what I'm pointing out is it's a lot of people feel like they don't have a great partner in a relationship. But how do you define what greatness is? Because everything that you call great has complaints, as we're pointing out here. So again, how many people you gonna see this month celebrating these Black History things and then go home and destroy the person next to them that could be the next Black History person for doing what they do? Technology and innovation. Mark Dean, an engineer at IBM, co-invented the color PC monitor and led the team that developed the first gigahertz chip, significantly advancing computer technology. But of course, Mark Dean, a pioneer in computer engineering, likely faced challenges in gaining recognition for his contributions. As the tech industry has historically been dominated by quote-unquote white professionals, while there is less documented resistance from within the Black community, the lack of representation in STEM fields may have led to skepticism about his achievements. So now, because you're too busy clowning them, you didn't send your kids to the STEM labs back in the day, so they don't believe none of us could do it. So now, when your son wants to make the next future app, Casio calculator, whatever, in his room, you calling him dumb, telling him he wasting his time and he should go learn how to get a trade or something. Because they done programmed you to believe that we not capable. So you gonna celebrate Black History and then destroy your son who could have been the future Black History. Like, you might have had a kid that's a genius at the video game and you spent so much time and energy destroying them for being good at the game, not knowing that he could make $1 million a year playing video games. Today, it's not like us back in the day when we had Mario, right? We know entertainment and sports, right? Breakthroughs, Jackie Robinson broke color barrier, blah, 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 sports, right? The etymology of the word sport is actually joke. Like, y'all up here just now discovering that the whole thing is scripted because you didn't know that the word sport means joke to begin with. Anyway, look, here there. So Jackie Robinson broke the color barrier in the Major League Baseball 1947, ending a 6-decade ban of Black players and becoming a pivotal figure in the post-war civil rights movement. Right? Sounds amazing. However, Jackie Robinson, who broke the color barrier in the Major League Baseball, faced resistance from some Black athletes and fans who feared that his integration into a quote-unquote white-dominated league would undermine the success of the MLB. Additionally, Robinson endured immense pressure to represent the entire quote-unquote Black community, which created tension. Because now that you done broke down that wall and you over there, oh man, you must not fully represent us. Instead of the community saying, wow, he kicked the door and we all can flood it and go in. I get it. May not want to be there. I mean, you could make the argument that segregation was backwards or desegregation was backwards, because the dollar circulated the most in our community prior to that. And since then, it's never been as strong. Could that have been a weaponization? Right? I get it. You can't even be good at sports and be proud without elements of your community wanting to tear you down. But you wonder why they left? So business and entrepreneurship, right? Madam C.J. Walker built a successful business empire with her line of hair care products, becoming America's first self-made millionaire and providing economic opportunities for quote-unquote Black women during the Jim Crow era. I mean, how can you go wrong there, right? Well, we gonna find a way, because Madam C.J. Walker faced skepticism from some members of the quote-unquote Black community who questioned the focus on beauty products during a time of severe racial oppression. However, her success ultimately inspired many to provide economic opportunities for so-called Black women. What about the environment? Environmental conservation gonna be the last one, and we'll go over a couple more things here. Charles Young, as the first quote-unquote Black national park superintendent, played a crucial role in the preservation of Sequoia National Park, laying the groundwork for conservation efforts. See, because when you ask these certain chicks, they got so much negative stuff to say about the quote-unquote Black male, and then they want to talk about spending time in nature when the Black male helped preserve conservation efforts, so there would be a nature for her to spend time in. But no, that doesn't compute. It doesn't fit the programming of what they want to remember. So Charles Young, as the first Black national park superintendent, likely faced challenges in gaining support, of course, for conservation efforts within a community that was more focused on the immediate civil rights and economics issues. Environmentalism was not always seen as a priority in the face of systemic racism and poverty. It's kind of like saying, let's teach the family how to go camping and backpack and survive, and they talking about their six-figure career. So, when you look at it, it's really a challenge, because you've been taught to hate yourselves, and because you hate yourself, you hate people that remind you of you. That's why, quote, the so-called Black couples, as of 2023, only 31% of Black Americans were married, which is significantly lower compared to the 48% of all Americans. This positions, they label as African Americans, so I don't know if they are counting everybody or just the people who think they're African American. I don't know. Like when I say everybody, I mean like Americans like me and people that call themselves African Americans. But that's the thing. It's a statistic. Let's go with it. So this positions the African Americans as the least married major racial ethnic group in the United States, with 50% having never ever been married. You can't even spend a weekend together. How you gonna spend a life together? Other racial ethnic groups, let's say the so-called white Americans, have higher marriage rates, with 48% being married. Asian Americans have the highest marriage rates among all groups, and Hispanic Americans fall between the quote-unquote black and the quote-unquote white Americans in terms of marriage rates. Now remember, the supposed black people have the lowest marriage rates. Because that's interesting, because when you look at the divorce rates, black couples, so-called black women, have the highest divorce rates among all racial groups in the United States. It says, the data says specifically 33% of black women are divorced, compared to 22% of Hispanic, 19% of white, and 11% of Asian. Now, it didn't say the highest divorce rates was black people. So this is when you get into data analysis. It said black women have the highest divorce rates. That means, because remember, they ran over to, like everybody, like they said the men did, they ran over there, got the other people, and they still wound up getting divorced. Now, apparently, that means that when the black men get somewhere, they're not divorcing as much. But, that's just to read in the data. So, black women have the highest divorce rates among racial groups in the United States. So, is it just the black men that are leaving? But I really want you to hyper focus on the Black History Month thing, because that really hit while I change this data, right? I'm ready to do something real quick here. Oh, well, here, I can give you this information before I got some more detail here. So it's saying in this note about the marriage situations, 15% of basically interracial marriages are becoming more common, right? As if you didn't know that. But it's saying 15% of married black men were married to non-black women in 2021, with 8% married to white women and 4% married to Hispanic women. Black women are less likely to marry outside their race compared to black men. But apparently, regardless of who they're married to, black women have the highest divorce rates among all the racial groups, whether they marry in or outside their race. It's interesting information here. All right, give me a second here. We're gonna pivot, because what we need is accountability, right? And I know a lot of it's a lot of damage being done because the most popular people take the least accountability, right? Because why do you need to be accountable if you're popular? You're just gonna have a 10 million people rocking with you no matter what you say or do. So who really cares how you form it, shape it? Is it true or not? Is that really what happened? It makes a great story, right? People buy into it. They're emotionally invested. So the reason I started off with the Black History Month and the fact that people are going to celebrate Black history and then go home or go back to their community and destroy the people today who are doing the exact same thing they just got done celebrating for Black history, as if they don't see the destruction they cause, as if they don't realize that that's why 7 decades later we're still in the same position. The Humble campaign. So as we celebrate Black History Month, we stand at a crossroads of reflection and action. Pasha, why are you single? Because most chicks that I say, hey, I want to change the world, they don't say, okay, how you want me to support you with that? They say, oh, that's not what I want to do. That's not what I want to do. Because they're comfortable. If you want to control a group of people, a population of people, you do so by controlling their women. You weaponize the women against the men, and you never have to go to war with that culture because they're so incapacitated. I'm gonna be the bad guy for this one, but for this video, I get it. But I've been the bad guy that y'all tell it out there in the gym pop for the last 20 years. So what's another day? Because that's what the truth does. And that's why the people who are trying to destroy me are trying to destroy me, because they don't want you to know the truth. Whether it's music, whether it's law, whether it's emotional intelligence, whether it's mental health, whatever. If you know the truth, then you're going to have to question the leaders that you've been following for all your life. Like, this is bigger than you've been contributing to the roof fund at the church and they still ain't got the new roof after 10 years. This is bigger than that. And you know how you feel about giving that extra donation to the roof fund and it still ain't done yet. So imagine when you find out the truth. So our history is rich with stories of those who fought tirelessly for justice, equality, and the right to determine our own destinies, but all you hear is black men ain't shit. Today we must ask ourselves, how can we honor their sacrifices and continue their legacy? Some of y'all probably got a woman in your ear, man, You didn't even help me with the garden. And you're like, I told you before you started the garden not to invest in an outdoor garden. I introduced the community to vertical farming, indoor vertical farming, smaller footprint, not in plain sight, hidden, climate control, off the grid, can be sustained off the grid, can be protected, etc., etc., etc. And what happened to your garden? It failed. Why? Chemtrails, right? Well, that's why I was saying don't put it outside. If you try to do something for a community that's under attack, you can't put the food out there exposed without protection full time. So see, it's stuff like that where when you hear Pasha say, in that other video, go watch the other video I showed earlier, it's not that the men don't protect the women. It's that the women don't hear protection when the men speak sometimes. They want to tell you you're trying to control them or whatever it is that justifies why they shouldn't have to listen to us sometimes. Then they go through the whole song and dance, the garden dies, all because they didn't want to listen to you in the beginning and do a vertical farming outfit in the beginning. So all of that investment of fiat currency, time, community, multiply, hours, space was all wasted because it perished anyway, which is what you were trying to avoid when you gave proper guidance as a god or as a leader or as a man. And you said, nah, that's not best for the people. What's best for the people is this. And then they went off on you, talking about you they feel unseen, unheard, and unsafe. Right? It's that feminine energy thing. So they just spent, if it took 3-4 seasons for the farm to finally die out completely, they just spent 4 seasons talking shit about you for not helping them with the garden, because it took them 4 seasons to learn the garden was going to fail. And if they listened to you, they could have still had a thriving operation today. But this is why they'll tell everybody, oh, you ain't shit because you didn't, because they still ain't, it still ain't processed yet. It still ain't processed how you were trying to protect them. So when you ask why the men leave, it's because that's gotta be the worst pain in the world. I can say that because I spent so many times telling people what's coming, how we can do something different instead of suffer through it. But because you don't get the support for it, now you gotta watch everybody suffer through what you know that you could have prevented. So not only do you get the rejection, not only do you get the devaluation, you gotta sit here and watch 70,000 people suffer because they thought you were joking. They thought you were a good sport. You think we give a fuck about reputation at that point? Because that shit only gonna mean shit to the minds that still don't get it. So the answer lies in accountability, both personal and collective. And this is why the community is divided the way it is, because I think a good man or a guy's gonna be focused on like little God, right? We're focused like I'm focused on truth. And you can't be true without the infinity. And if you right, you right. But right ain't always true. So we had the ability to say, you know what? Let me look at your perspective for a moment because I'm omnipresent. Let me go into your shoes and see what that look like. Certain people in our community ain't gonna do that. They only know one side. Like they can come and talk about all the how much they done learned and grown and self care and done and, the whole nine, right? They're allowed to evolve. You can't. You can't come back a year later and say, you know what, I've matured. I've learned this. I learned that. Nah, you can't do that. Only they can do that. Only they can have growth, right? It's not that you didn't, it's that they refuse to what? Recognize and value. Because they gotta justify the belief they want to maintain. It's kind of like they had to change the reality of what America was structurally and architecturally and culturally and people because it didn't fit their story of it being a newfoundland, right? The only way their story worked is if we were over here, ooh, Indians, right, and teepees and shit. But you see the same architecture from ancient Rome and ancient Greece, and this is why they went through and destroyed entire districts of entire cities because they were getting rid of as much possible to showcase that it was a one world civilization all built around the world, and it probably started in America and spread to the rest of the world. So they had to destroy the structures of the entire nation just to fit their narrative that they wanted you to believe. Sound familiar? So, understanding your value, right? The only ones that leave are the ones that realize everything they value providing their family is not valued by their family. It's somebody out there right now invested $20,000 in special knowledge so that their family would have an advantage, and they mad at him because they didn't get the new BMW. And vice versa. It's somebody out there that went and got the new BMW, and then they mad that they didn't get to go to Harvard and they got to go to community college. Because it's like whatever, 100,000, 200,000, I don't know. I'm exaggerating for theatrical purposes. Difference in tuition. So maybe the man thought he was giving him a good car and a decent education. That was like a good start to life. But no, the mother's complaining, turning the kid into a complainer. Now the whole family complaining. Nobody's happy. You know what? Now you see why he didn't come home last night. You got tired of that shit. But it strikes at the heart of the critical issue within our community. The sentiment echoes the frustrations felt by many who have worked tirelessly to uplift their families and the communities, only to feel undervalued, unappreciated. Just like you can't come to the community and say, hey, This is what's gonna help us because it's not cool yet, it's not popular yet. You gotta wait. And because they want you to wait for it to become cool and popular, well, guess what happens? The very thing you were trying to avoid. Who taught you to wear a suit? Who taught Americans to wear suits when the suit is a representation of being a member of the British Army? Who taught you to wear a suit? Most of our mothers wanted to see you in that first little Easter suit and shit. Straight humbled you. Took all your proud out of you. Now you don't even want to be American no more because you don't know what it means. Because they so busy trying to make you safe for survival in somebody else's world that they took your will to fight for your own world out of you. And they demonized everything that represented you being strong enough to accomplish that. And you wonder why they leave. But let us remember the words of Malcolm X, who said, "There is no better than adversity. Every defeat, every heartbreak, every loss contains its own seed, its own lesson on how to improve your performance next time." Our history is filled with examples of steadfast in the face of adversity, even when we had to be steadfast in the face of our own family. But now is the time to channel that voltage into accountability. Accountability is not about blame, it's about empowerment, right? It's about recognizing our ability to shape our circumstances and our community's future. As Michael Luther King Jr. would remind us, change does not roll in on wheels of inevitability, but comes through continuous struggle. And you would think, as much continuous struggle as you want to say we have had, where the fuck is the change at? This is what I'm saying happens when your women is weaponized against you by what you believe is the government, simply to control you and keep you sedated. So how can we embrace accountability? Personal responsibility, number one. Like the employee who chooses to leave the job that doesn't value their contributions, we must take responsibility for our personal growth and success. So this means setting goals, pursuing education, and continuously striving for excellence. Oh, but wait, that means proud, right? So that means you got to get off the humble campaign and you got to start embracing being proud again. it's funny. Like, you gotta take responsibility. Like, I don't care if you're if you're the male or the woman, the man or the woman. How many people are y'all talking to in a relationship that'll tell you that they're not willing to do X for you, but go do it every day that they clock in at the job? Man or woman. Where's the accountability? Where's the responsibility? If you're gonna have an education system, you can't tell someone, I don't like to start my day till 10 o'clock, right? If you clock it in the job at 7:45 on the days you go to work. Because see, what happens is they're gonna talk to you one day at 9:15 and you're gonna get mad, but you're not realizing that they know you're being hypocritical the other days of the week. So what does it matter if it's not true? See, that's the thing about being right but not being true. The reason a lot of people, men or women, are upset in that position is because they don't get that they're right, but that they're not true. That goes into the family dynamics, which is number 2. So we must forge environments where every family member's contributions are recognized and valued. This creates a strong foundation for success and prevents the loss of valuable members of our community. I mean, how many of y'all have grown up hearing, this is my house. I pay the bills. I do this when I in mine, right? Okay. Who cut the grass last Saturday? Was it Junior? How much time did that save you? How much fiat currency did that save you? So if Junior cutting the grass, in Junior mind, at Junior's young age, Junior's young mind, he don't know nothing about making $120,000 a year and putting groceries in the refrigerator yet, possibly. But he know he cut that grass. So he contributed in his mind. So you wonder why you sound crazy when you be talking about this my house. All right. Cut the grass next week then. So every family member's contributions got to be recognized. If your kid's going to school getting good grades, recognize that shit. If your kids don't want to go to school, give them an alternative. Recognize that shit too. Omar says, us black men were taught and promoted content to be players and seek out different women, not commit to one woman. Omar, follow up with why. I mean, from a survival of the species standpoint, that's natural, right? The ones with the best like genetic makeup in nature normally has the most opportunity to reproduce. The question in today's society is, what do they see as that value, right? You got some chicks that they just want someone they feel, you know, let's say has a good salary, right? Or a good job or a good business earning. But that don't mean they got in that position the right way. Like, again, right versus true, but that don't mean that they necessarily earn that position properly. So then you could have some inferior DNA being circulated a little more because of various reasons that we know, like network or pay to play or anything like that, right? Now we got more inferior DNA in the population. Just like you might have some women go and pay $100,000. You know, like I got a 34 Wonderlic score. I'm top 2% in the nation. Chick might want to give me $100,000 just to have a kid with me, right? So they value different things for different reasons. Okay? It's kind of like the gym. The person that spends 12 hours a day at the gym and have a crazy physique doesn't mean that it's natural. Versus someone that may be completely overweight, may have the right genes to produce the next LeBron James, but they grabbed the wrong one because of what they saw instead of what they could find out. Right? So I really wouldn't call it players. Like I had 5 women at one point in my life, in my 20s. They all knew about each other. I could be over this one's crib, call this one up, have her come pick me up. I leave my car at her crib for the weekend. I go with the other one. They all knew. What women just want is truth and honesty up front. So if you're true with them, then you're not playing because you're not playing no games. So when you are the man, it should rightfully be so that all the women or more than one woman will want you because that's the nature of the survival of the fittest of the species. So they all should be repopulating with you. I mean, if you offer something really valuable, I mean, it should be like standard that you get 50 kids in life. You know what I mean? Because society need more of that shit instead of the, like we said, the inferior bullshit ass, shit that we got running around. That's my conversation on that. But people that never experienced that life, they don't know. Shit. And then they get Tom Brady or Michael Jordan, where they go through their whole life and then they get divorced, thinking that they were the man, and they got divorced too, right? So, all right. So where we at here? We were on number 2, right? Family dynamics. So number 3 is community engagement. And thanks for sharing, Omar. I appreciate your comment. So, community engagement, get involved in community-led initiatives. Worst case scenario, it's going to make you more enemies than friends because you're going to come with real things that need to be changed or done, or this is the real solution instead of the band-aid that the government just writes the grant for, so that everybody feel like they're getting something when they're really not getting nothing, because the government don't want you to succeed. They want to keep you under their thumb. But get involved with community-led initiatives. Research shows that community-led monitoring and local organizing committees have been instrumental in driving what they gonna call positive change. So your voice and your actions matter, which is why they got you programmed to do the Humble campaign, because if your voice and your actions are destroying all the noble, excellent, and splendid, yeah. So now we got to make it cool again to support and invest in the noble, excellent, and splendid, because then that'll change the emotional trauma that your community thrives on sharing with each other and talking about 24/7, right? Number 4 is going to be economic empowerment. Of course, we want to support the quote unquote black owned business, but let's not forget about the American business, like the original, the copper colored people found here by the Europeans when they arrived, like most of us, because we're not from Africa, right? But let's remember them, and let's support those businesses and initiatives that promote economic growth within our communities. Economic independence is a crucial step, as we know, towards broader societal change. If we are going to fund change, if we're going to change, we need to be able to fund change. All right. And then lastly, educational support. So advocate for and participate in programs that support educational achievement for our youth. Education remains a powerful tool for overcoming systemic barriers, which is why, I did the homeschooling initiative some years back. So people probably picked it up, wouldn't tell you where they got it from. But the point is, especially if you develop your own curriculum, how much more empowerment can you get from that, instead of sending the kids off to be taught to be humble? All right, so we want to overcome these challenges, significant challenges, from economic disparities to ongoing, racial discrimination. Our history teaches us that these obstacles are not insurmountable, okay? But we got to take accountability. Like, we got to let our women know, we got to support our women to know that we got to stop programming our kids to not to want to fight these battles. Like, stop teaching them to be a part. Like, don't discipline them for wanting to make an impact, to make a difference, because you want them to have a safe life. They might not have been born on this planet to be safe. They might have been the next Malcolm X, the next Frederick Douglass, and you are beating it out of them. Because you don't value maybe the black man, or in the opposite situation, the black woman, because you value the United States government more. So challenge discriminatory practices in education and employment. Advocate for criminal justice reform to address systemic biases. Promote health initiatives that address disparities in our community. And let's forge a culture of mutual support and responsibility. Again, as we reflect on Black History Month. For those who think they're black, feel they're black, think his ancestors were called black. Let's remember that our ancestors faced seemingly unsurmountable odds compared to what we are at today, yet they persevered. The Black Panther Party, despite facing severe opposition, established social programs that addressed immediate community needs while forging empowerment. Their legacy teaches us the power of community-led initiatives and the importance of taking our destiny into our own hands. We got to take the destiny into our own hands. We're not going to get grant money from the government to do what's right for our community. We're not going to get grant money from the government to do what's true for our community. So, remember, as Stokely Carmichael advocated, true power comes from self-determination and community strength. By embracing accountability, we honor the legacy of those who came before us and paved the way for future generations. Let's not, this Black History Month, just celebrate our past. Let's actively shape our future.